I am extremely excited to be vlogging today because it's now less than a week until my first powerlifting meet. So I thought no better time than to tell you a little bit about what I do. And for those of you that have never heard of powerlifting before, you have no idea what it involves, this video should tell you everything that you need to know. So first of all, it's a strength sport. And it often gets confused with things like bodybuilding and Olympic lifting. So I'm going to go into a little bit of detail later on about the differences between those sports. But first of all, let's start with what it is. So like I say, it's a strength sport. We focus on the three main lifts. So when I train to improve my squat, my bench press, and my deadlift. And everything else that we do, all of the other exercises that you might see me doing, we call it assistance exercises. And those exercises are meant to help strengthen the weaknesses that we have in those three main lifts. So what we'll do is we'll train for a period of time, and then when it comes to it, we go into a competition where you're split up into different weight classes, and we call these powerlifting meets. Everyone will have 3 attempts at each of the lifts, and then at the end you're given a total, and then the winner is decided from that. So what's the difference then between bodybuilding and powerlifting and Olympic lifting? Because surely if you're all lifting weights, then you're pretty much doing the same sport, right? Well, no, actually. So let me talk you through the differences. So bodybuilding. These guys and girls are mainly or entirely focused on training to look the best that they can. So their training will be not focused on being as strong as they can. They won't be lifting as heavier weights, but what they will be doing is sculpting their bodies and their muscles into the most perfect form that they can, so that when they go forward to competition, a judge will mark them purely on how good they look. And then we have Olympic lifting. So yeah, you're right, this time it is a strength sport. This is the one that most people get confused with. It's the one that you've seen on TV, and it is a strength sport, but they do completely different lifts, and their lifts involve flinging the weights above their head, doing something called a clean and jerk and a snatch, which we just don't do in powerlifting at all. So yeah, again, a very, very different style of lifting. So I'm going to be making a powerlifting meet video for you next week so that you can have a little look at my experience, and hopefully it might encourage some of you, especially the girls out there, to get into powerlifting. I thought it would be really beneficial for me to run over a few of the rules so that when you're watching my video back next week, you can have a little look out for some things in particular. So let's start with the squat. What rules do we have for a squat at a powerlifting meet? Now the main one, and the one that most people will fail on if they're going to fail for anything technically, is the depth of their squat. And what I mean by that is how low you go when you bend your knees on a squat. And with powerlifting, it has to be pretty damn low. It's much lower than you'll see most people squatting in the gym. Basically where it needs to be is your hip crease needs to go below your knee. So all the way down and then all the way back up again. So really straightforward for the squat. In the bench press, we've got a few different rules, and it's different depending on what powerlifting federation you lift in. In my federation, your heels must be flat on the floor when you're lifting through the entire lift. Your butt has to stay on the bench, so you can't lift your bum from the bench to help shift the weight up any quicker. And you must listen to the commands of the judge. So you can only start to bring the weight down once he's told you to start pressing. You must pause at the bottom, and it must be touching your chest, and you can only start to press once the judge says to press, and then you can only re-rack when he tells you to re-rack. So it's pretty straightforward, but a few things to remember for the bench press. And then finally for the deadlift, the most straightforward of them all, you can basically just lift it as long as you don't do what we call hitching or ramping of the weight. And then once it's at the top, just wait for the command for it to go down, and then you're all good. So those are the main rules to be looking out for. So like I say, I'm extremely excited about next week. I can't wait to make my vlog for you next week. If you do have any more questions about powerlifting between now and then, please log on to helenloveslift.com and drop me an ask in my inbox there, or just leave a comment below and I'll try and get back to you with any information that you might want to know. But anyway, that's it for today. See you later.